We see people laughing at fellow Africans when they can express themselves in English language.
When a French cannot speak English, Africans respect him. When a Spanish cannot speak English, Africans respect him. When a Chinese cannot speak English, Africans respect him.
But Africans failed Africa as well. The world failed Africa.
DJ Paco Ray.
Okay, people, welcome to the channel. I mean, it's been a while that we've had such conversations that wins your heart and gets you more interested in this channel. It's because, my colleagues and myself have been a bit busy, doing one or two stuffs there. But, man got to do what man has to do. And so today, I have to fly all the way to United States of America, the house of Joe Biden, to meet my Nigerian brother. His name sounds weird, and so anytime that I bring him on this platform, I will get him to explain it and explain it and explain it until he gets tired. His name is BJ. He lives in New York City, and then he's a proud Nigerian, proud African, of course. And today we are here to have a conversation which is dear to the heart of Africa. We see people laughing at fellow Africans when they can express themselves in English language. We have seen Chinese who speak like me that, me go, me come, and then we think, yo, that's cool. We've seen French people coming into Nigeria, Ghana, other African countries who are not fluent with their language, the English language. And we feel like, yo, that's cool. But once an African speaks and we realize that he's not so fluent in his English language, we start laughing at them. And I feel that's a lot of disrespect, and we are looking down upon ourselves. Let's ask ourselves, before the colonial days, before the sheep came into Africa, were we not thinking as human beings? Were we not wise? And so I'm going to invite my brother here, BJ. We'll have this discussion. I mean, he's a very intelligent guy. I would like him to share his opinion about this whole issue. BJ, how you doing?
Hey, Paco Rich. How you doing today, man? This is a beautiful Saturday. We thank God to be here, man. How you feeling?
I'm good, my brother. I mean, there are always new viewers here, new subscribers here. Probably somebody here is seeing you for the first time. So I'd like you to introduce yourself very well to them. And I mean, we have a lot of people, Nigerians across the world watching us, some Ghanaians also on this platform. And I would like us to be proud of our roots. So introduce yourself, tell them which part of Africa you are coming from and where you represent.
Ooh, so yes, I'm a Nigerian-born American. I'm an American-born Nigerian. My family come from Ibadan, Oyo States to be exact. My mother's from Oyo, my father's from Ibadan. So Obusesan is my last name. You know the whole history there. They call me BJ. The Yoruba people know. I don't even got a comment. They know, so they know where that comes from. So yeah, man. So yeah, that's where we are with it, man. What's going on, Paco? I'm here.
Yeah, I'm good, bro. That's a very nice introduction, and I'm sure everybody would love to hear what you're going to speak on this particular topic. You heard in my introductions. I mean, you live in America, and so yes, I'm sure you understand this very well. There are people that I have met from America, like young children. They speak too much of English, very good English, but they can't even write them. And then we as African, we see such kids speaking with very fluent English, and then we go like, yo, this child is intelligent. Meanwhile, that's the mother language of America. That American, they speak English, so that is his original language. He or she is speaking. That doesn't amount to his level of intelligence. But once an African child going to school who's got some level of like some wisdom in there, but it's not fluent with the language, we turn out to make mockery of them, laugh at them, and all that. We've seen Chinese people coming into Africa that cannot speak proper English, but what do? We hail them. Why do we do that to ourselves, my brother?
Okay, so my brother, the conversation is interesting, and I thank you for just even giving me the platform to share my opinion, my thoughts, and my ideas. This what you're saying and what the conversation is based off has fragmented answers to it, right?
Yeah.
Because we're not only talking about one problem, we're talking about a bunch of problems bunched up into one problem.
Yeah.
So just to simplify it, first, the reason why the English language, just a quick historical value to it, became so prominent in the world of today because the British had a strong military base back in those days, and whoever had the strong military base has the biggest influence over the world. You follow what I'm saying? So English became the competitive language that everybody had to learn to create some level of advancement for their region, if that makes sense. So if you want to trade with somebody in France, you want to trade with a Chinese, English is the common language to be able to have communications with. Now, let's not forget, I don't care in what country you are, whether it be China, Russia, or any country for that matter, English is a prominent language that they try to make everybody learn for the purposes of being able to compete in the world for jobs, for money, for businesses, whatever it could be, right? So we're not isolated there as quote unquote Africans, as people that just don't speak English, right? As we know, there's Anglophone countries in Africa that was colonized by English, by the British. That native is, English is the official language of the country.
Yeah.
But what happens eventually is, as we start to pick up a new language, we're not going to be able to speak it properly, right? As a French, you might not be able to speak it properly. As a Chinese, you might not be able to speak it properly. But again, it goes back to the world is set up in a way where things are created and you get praised based off your creation.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Africans created a lot of stuff, but we didn't get the credit for the creation of what we got. So when we get to the world stage, as Africans, we don't come off like we have things we've created. We come off as the needy people.
Yeah.
If you follow what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So because we come off as the needy people, whether the way we speak, whether the way we dress, whether the way we do anything for that matter, is going to be suppressed because we kind of like the quote unquote needy people of the world.
Yeah.
If you follow what I'm saying. Yeah. Versus France has a historical value of what they've added to the world. Chinese have this new innovations they've added to the world. So even despite the fact that they may not speak properly, we know, Chinese kids know how to create TVs. French people, they may be good in this, but African people are the needy people that beg.
Yeah.
So anything that comes behind, I'm talking, I'm dressing, they don't want to hear it. We don't want that go to wars. We have tribal wars. We have civil this. We got, so we kind of look like this quote unquote animals that don't know what to do. So anything that comes out of our mouth, our tonality, temperament, everything is bunched up in one. So the argument of why it's so much different fragment to it. I think the solution to it, one, to me, is you have to first create some level of pride.
Yeah.
Right? A level of pride of where you come from, right? So me and my family members talk about like why we wasn't maybe speaking Yoruba in our household as the primitive language, and then when we get outside we speak English, right? But back in those days, it wasn't a cool thing to do. Let's just call it black and white, right? It wasn't a cool thing to do, but it was based off the colonial way of thinking. The way we see ourselves, we hated everything about ourselves. But now things are changing, and we're starting to have a different perspective on, how we, perceive our languages.
Beautiful submission there. But there is one thing that I would like to ask. we as Africans,
Yes, sir.
are we looking down on ourselves just because of our inability? I mean, I'm not speaking for the elite, for the
Right.
for like our mothers in the markets, our uncles
For
in the
sure.
villages who are doing so well. I mean, sometimes you meet somebody in the market that hasn't been to school before, but you can actually tell that they are more intelligent with accounting than people, or in business than people that have been to school. Sometimes when we, I mean, make them feel less of themselves just because they can't speak English, don't you think we are not giving them the opportunity to be in the race with us?
Yes, absolutely. I think that has to do with a lot of like general education. Our egos easily bruised too, because if like for me, for example, if I see an old Nigerian lady, Ghanaian, whoever, old person, it could be Russian, it could be Chinese,
Yeah.
that cannot effectively communicate the English language to me, I'm not gonna make you feel down or devalue your worth for that specific reason. Because for one, indigenous language is not what I'm speaking, right? So you give them a due process to understand that it takes a little longer to be able to do that. But as a general consensus of people, the way that we think is you
Yeah.
can't speak English properly. How could you compete on the world stage to earn?
Yeah.
It's just bottom line, right?
Yeah.
So I think what we first need to do, and like I said, this argument is it could be, you can't argue it in one way.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? You have to dissect it in different ways. Now, if somebody in the market communicate with, let's say in Ghana, if this is a tree, let's say a lady that speaks tree in the marketplace, I wouldn't expect her to, and that's respectfully, to speak English fluently. You know what I'm saying? It would be unrealistic.
Let's even use our footballers for example.
Okay.
After the football matches, once you have the journalist speaking to the footballer, let's say a Nigerian footballer, and the Nigerian footballer makes a grammatic mistake, you will see that the media will just take that portion of the mistake and start trolling the person online. They start laughing at the person. But you can sometimes have Cristiano Ronaldo speaking English, and you can actually feel that this is bad English. You can see some of these Portugal footballers, Brazilian footballers, and so the impact with this they have on us is that there are people in our rural areas who can actually play football. Football is not about
Right.
English. Yes, it's grown to
Right,
a
right,
stage that you would have to learn and all that. But people have that natural talent. But because of English, they are not given equal opportunity to be on the world stages and all that. I'm sure that there is
Right.
somebody in some village in Nigeria who can play better football than Messi or Ronaldo. But these are
Okay,
some of the barriers between them and their dreams.
Right. But if you listen to what I said properly earlier, right?
Yeah.
I said languages, especially English, has to be learned to be able to compete on this highest level.
Yeah.
You see, what I don't want black people to fall into is the trap of, because maybe white is on level 2, we have to be on level 2.
Yeah.
We have to understand we're on level 1 and we have to work our way to 2 and surpass 2.
Yeah.
We don't have the same starting point, unfortunately. They've already bamboozled us already. We know that. You get where I'm coming from? But if it requires you to speak a certain language and at a certain level to be able to compete, right? Because once we get where we need to be, we could really start to overly go back to our traditional roots and let our traditional roots become more influential, kind of like what Afrobeats is doing now. Well, you have to get to a place where you're on the same level, then you drag everybody along. But as for right now, I think for you to be able to compete on the world stage, you're competing with the best of the best. You
Yeah.
know, in soccer, basketball,
Yeah.
business, you have to be extremely good to
Yeah.
outweigh your match. So sometimes the barriers is there. We already know what it is. The barriers is what you said. English is
Yeah.
one of our barriers. We have to overly learn it to beat these people at the game because they're not going to let us in. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to let us in. You have to be extremely uh, 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 good at whatever craft that you're doing.
You're doing.
To be able to use your indigenous language to supersede. Because again, we are the losers of the world. We're trying to be cool,
Yeah.
and I want people to understand. Entertainment is not the way to make change for people on the bottom. It's just a way to just give us an oversight, if that makes sense. It's like an inclusion by illusion kind of thing. Which we're still not there. So if we just have to beat them at a game, we don't lose our traditional cultures and everything else. So no. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, while we competing, we know the language we need to learn to compete. We have to beat them at their own game.
Aye.
You get where I'm coming from?
I get
So
you.
sometimes you're gonna have media crack on. Next time we get to live another day and try again tomorrow. It's not our original language. We're learning to be able to compete. You get where I'm coming from? Once
get
we
you.
compete and we win, then we could worry about the other things. But right now, the world are like I said, the Asians, or whether it be the Indians or whatever it is,
Yeah.
they've had things that they proved to the world that we provide. We are the last ones behind that's not been able to identify what we do very good.
I get you. I get you very well. But before we end this video, I would like to play this video from he's more seen like a comedian, but this particular video really made a lot of sense to that, and I drew inspiration from this. So video credit to the town crier from Nigeria, and this is the video.
When a French cannot speak English, Africans respect him. When a Spanish cannot speak English, Africans respect him. When a Chinese cannot speak English, Africans respect him. When a Portuguese cannot speak English, Africans respect him. But guess what? When an African cannot speak English, Africans disrespect him. When an African cannot speak English, Africans term him or she a joke, an illiterate dump. When an African cannot speak English, he or she is considered as an idiot, as a fool. Who did this to Africa?
When they move from Europe to Africa, they call it discovery, voyageur. But when we move from Africa to Europe, they call us illegal immigrants. A group of Africans in Europe, they call it refugees. A group of Europeans in Africa, they call it tourists. A group of Africans in a bush, they call it poachers. With a group of Europeans in a bush, they call it hunters. Black people working in a foreign country, they call it foreigners. White people working in foreign countries, they call them expatriates. This world have failed Africans, or have Africans failed ourselves?
That's a big question. Has the world failed Africa, or we failed ourselves?
Both. Both. First, let's deal with the world. The world failed Africa because Africans failed Africa. So the conversations is great because it allows everybody ideas to start to roam and spark some interesting topics. But Africans failed Africa is why the world failed Africa. We have blacks all over the world that comes from Africa have an identity crisis. We're battling self-identification. We're insecure about who we are, and because of these traits that we do have by failing each other is the reason why we don't produce as much as we can produce. So that's why Africans failed Africa. I do also agree with him that there is more of a stereotype in how things is ran in the world. but I don't want us to begin our questions there first.
Yeah.
I'll prefer our submissiveness to start from self-love, loving ourselves, loving each other, willing to help one another in Africa before we start to go outside. Let our scientists be supported. Let our philosophers be supported. Let our medical team be supported. And then that way we could start to create our own resolvement for our own particular issues, and then we sell it to the world, and the world will have to tax. We'll be able to tax the world for all the suffering we've suffered for the previous years.
All right, I think we've had enough time. We've spoken almost about 20 minutes, and I think there is a lot that we've shared. Viewers would like you to also contribute to this discussion. Let's build a better continent. Yes, some of us might be living outside the continent for different reasons, but still we have Africa on top of our hearts. That is the homeland. There's no place like Africa. I keep telling people, God gave us everything we need in this world. There is nothing you can't find in Africa. Everything. It is just a matter of time. We need to put our heads together. Stop being selfish. Stop fighting each another. When two African countries have issues, then you have Western powers coming to back us to fight your brother. All those things doesn't make sense to us. You understand? It's about time that we'll make sure that Africa becomes a better place for all us to live. So, guys, let me get your contribution in the comment section. I've been doing this with my brother BJ all the way from New York City, an Ibadan boy from Nigeria.
Yes,
and you mentioned something. You said you're from Oyo State, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oyo State.
All right. So, to all the Oyo people, this is your brother. He's promised to send you Christmas dollars every Monday. He's going to send the entire Oyo State. If he was a politician, he would say, "One house, $1. One house, $1." All right, bro. It's been nice speaking to you here. But guys, stay on. We're bringing you another interesting discussion on another side.
Yes,
you will love it.
Yes, sir.
God bless you all for watching. Okay.
DJ Paco Ray.